Welcome back to the Deep Dive. This is the part of the program from our team here at Reformed Thinking where we take a small piece of scripture or history and really try to get to the bottom of it.
And today we are looking at a really dense little section in Genesis chapter 4, specifically verses 17 through 24.
It's a strange passage, isn't it? The book starts with creation, everything is in order, and then boom, the fall, and then the first murder. Cain kills Abel.
Right. It's a very rapid descent into disorder. But then right after Cain is exiled, the story does something you wouldn't expect. It slows down to give us this genealogy, this family tree of the murderer.
And it describes the birth of the first human culture, a whole society built from the line of Cain.
That's why we've stacked up our sources on this. It feels like a detour, but it's not. Why spend time listing the inventors of music and metalworking right here?
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We want to understand what this early biblical passage is showing us about human nature, about society itself.
Because it's a perfect picture of this duality we see in humanity. On one hand, you have these incredible gifts, intelligence, creativity, what we'd call God's common kindness flourishing.
But on the other hand, you see those same gifts get twisted. They're bent toward pride and violence and self-glorification.
Yeah.
That, deep corruption we call depravity.
And this contrast, right here at the start, it really sets up the whole Bible's theme of the city of man versus the city of God.
The paradox is just so sharp. You have the pioneers of art and technology, and right alongside them, the first recorded case of polygamy and a man. Well, a man singing a song bragging about murder.
A refined yet godless civilization. That's the tension we need to get into.
Okay, so let's set the scene. The story kicks off right after Cain's sin. God confronts him, and the sentence is pronounced. Cain is to be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth.
And you have to understand what that meant back then. It wasn't just being homeless. It was a loss of identity, a loss of protection from a tribe or family. It meant you were completely vulnerable.
But the text adds another layer. It says he goes out from the presence of the Lord. That's a huge theological statement.
It's everything. He's moving himself, geographically and spiritually, away from God's special care. He's choosing exile.
He ends up in the land of Nod, which is specifically east of Eden. That direction, east, keeps coming up in the Bible, doesn't it? It almost always means moving away from God.
It does. It's the direction of exile. Adam and Eve were cast out east of the garden. Later, Lot moves east towards Sodom. It's the territory of separation, of being under the curse.
So Cain, who's been sentenced to wander and be unstable, what's the first thing he does?
The very first thing, he does the most defiant, stabilizing thing imaginable. He builds a city, and he names it Enoch, after his son.
Which is his answer to God's curse, really.
It's a non-repentant answer. God says, wander. Cain says, no, I'll put down roots. I'll build walls. The act of building a city is his attempt to, insulate himself from the curse without ever dealing with the sin that caused it.
He's trying to find security in his own work.
Exactly. He's looking for security in stone walls more than in God. He's afraid of being killed, so he gathers people, builds defenses. It's a human solution to a spiritual alienation.
And the name Enoch. He's naming it after his own line, his son. It's about making a name for himself, not calling on the name of the Lord.
Precisely. The city is a monument to human effort, to human legacy. It's the first city in the Bible, and it immediately sets this pattern for human society trying to find its own security, its own fame, apart from its creator.
And the genealogy that follows isn't just a list of names. It's showing us what grows in the soil of that city.
It's the roadmap. It shows what sort of figure grows out of this city-building, self-naming society. Cain planted the seed of self-reliance, and as we'll see, Lamech is the toxic fruit that grows from it.
It's a grim foundation for human society.
Yeah.
But then, in this very family, something remarkable happens. We see this explosion of skill, of craft.
And this is where that idea of God's common kindness or common grace is so clear. The fall doesn't just erase human gifts. People are still creative, still intelligent.
They still bear the image of God, even if it's fractured.
That's right. So God, in his patience, allows skill to flourish. He sends rain on the just and the unjust. He lets civilization develop, even in a line that is actively defying him.
And the Bible is very careful to point this out. The text uses this specific phrase, for Lamech's sons. He was the father of those who...
Yes, that's a marker. It's saying these men weren't just dabblers, they were originators. They establish entire fields of human work that would shape history.
Let's take them one by one. First is Jabal. He's called the father of those who dwell in tents and have livestock.
So this is a massive economic innovation. Before this, you might have had small-scale herding, like Abel. But Jabal seems to have professionalized it. He's the pioneer of nomadic herding.
Which would require a lot of organization.
A ton. Managing large herds, knowing where to find pasture, developing portable shelters, tents. It's the start of a whole economic system based on livestock. It's organized labor.
So he's still exercising dominion over creation, which was part of the original mandate in Eden?
He is, but he's doing it within this culture of self-reliance, for his own ends. The skill is from God's kindness, but the motive is bent.
Okay, so after the economic innovator, we get his brother, Jubal, and he moves us into the arts.
Right into the arts. He is the father of all those who play the lyre and pipe.
So stringed instruments and wind instruments, this is the birth of formal music.
It's a huge cultural leap. It shows that this society is concerned with more than just survival. They're creating beauty, expressing emotion. Music is a powerful organizing force in any culture.
And again, the phrase, father of all those who play, suggests he's seen as the true source of that whole craft.
Yes, he's the wellspring of organized art. And think of what that requires, an understanding of rhythm, harmony, melody. These are incredible gifts reflecting the creator's own nature. And it's just so striking that they appear in this line of all places.
And then finally, we get Tubal-Cain, the son of Lamech's other wife, Zillah. And this is a move into hard technology.
A major move. He is the forger of all instruments of bronze and iron. We can't overstate what a massive technological jump this is.
Metalworking is not simple.
Not at all. You need to find the ore, build furnaces that can reach incredibly high temperatures, and then develop the skills to shape the metal. This points to a complex, organized industry.
And the text says bronze and iron. These are serious materials.
Very serious. And they have a dual use, which is key to the whole story. On one hand, an iron plowshare changes agriculture forever. You can support a much larger population. It's progress.
But on the other hand,
Bronze and iron make much better weapons. Swords, spearheads. This same technology that can build a civilization can also make warfare much more deadly.
so Tubal-Cain's invention is a perfect picture of the whole family. Amazing skill that can be used for good or for evil.
It's the perfect summary. This family was gifted, energetic, creative. They were advancing society. But it's all happening away from the presence of the Lord. Their culture is productive, but it's morally empty. And this is the great warning. You can't confuse technological progress with godliness.
It's sobering to think that all this cultural brilliance is happening inside a family that is, at its core, morally broken. Which brings us to Lamech himself.
Right. Lamech isn't introduced as an inventor. He's introduced as a distorter. He's the one who commits the first clear distortion of marriage in the Bible.
The text says he took 2 wives, Adah and Zillah. This is the first recorded instance of polygamy.
And it's a direct repudiation of the pattern God set in Eden. One man, one woman becoming one flesh. That was about covenant, partnership. Lamech's actions are about something else entirely.
It seems to be about power and status.
Absolutely. In that kind of society, having multiple wives was a display of wealth and strength. It's about acquisition, not companionship. He's bending marriage away from what it was meant to be and turning it into a tool for male self-exaltation.
He's applying the spirit of his ancestor Cain building security for himself to his own family life.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. He's taking more than God allotted because he can. Sin is now corrupting the most basic unit of society.
And you see how he views them later when he calls them to listen to his song. They're not partners, they're an audience.
They're an audience for his violent victory speech. Adah and Zillah, hear my voice. It's a command. He's treating them like trophies, not like joint heirs. This is what happens when headship in the family is totally detached from any fear of God.
Which sets the stage for what he's about to say. This advanced, sophisticated culture is built on a foundation of moral chaos, starting right in the home.
And that chaos finds its voice in Lamech's song.
Yes, this is Genesis 4, verses 23 and 24. And it's the first recorded human poem after the fall. This is the first piece of human literature we get in the Bible after Eden.
And it's just chilling. It's not a psalm of praise. It's not a lament or a prayer for forgiveness. It's a speech designed to boast about his own violence. It's a killer's anthem.
He's very specific about what he did. He says, I have killed a man for wounding me, a young man for striking me.
The specifics there are the whole point. A wound, a strike, these are likely minor injuries. An insult, maybe a shove. And his response was lethal force.
The disproportion is what he's proud of.
It's the source of his entire boast. He's proud that he crushes anyone who even dares to touch him. He treats this act of overkill not as a tragedy, but as a trophy. It's a sign of his honor.
And you just have to compare him to Cain. When Cain killed Abel, he was filled with fear. He complained to God, "My punishment is more than I can bear."
That's the crucial development. For Cain, murder brought fear and misery. But for Lamech, just a few generations later, murder brings swagger and song. Violence has gone from being a tragedy to being a sign of strength that you celebrate in public.
He's the end product of Cain's self-reliant spirit.
He really is. He's untouchable, and he's singing about it. And then comes the darkest part of the poem, the boast about the number.
If Cain's revenge is sevenfold, then Lamech's is 77-fold.
And this isn't just him picking a big number. It's a deliberate, blasphemous twist of what God had said.
Remind us of the context for that sevenfold.
When Cain was afraid of being killed, God put a mark on him and said that anyone who killed Cain, vengeance would be taken on them sevenfold. That was God's declaration, meant to restrain bloodshed. It was about his justice.
A way of saying, vengeance is mine. I will handle it.
Exactly. But Lamech grabs that divine formula and not only hijacks it, but inflates it. He's boasting that his personal rage will outdo God's justice. He's moved it from divine judgment to human vendetta.
His creed is destruction without limit. If you touch me, I will destroy you and your family and everything you have 77 times over.
And he's probably singing this to the music that his son Jubal just invented, using the beauty of art to celebrate the ugliness of his own rage. It's the perfect picture of a fallen culture.
The way Genesis is structured here is just brilliant. Because right after we get this picture of Lamech's refined but brutal culture, the narrative shifts completely.
It puts another lineage right next to it for comparison, the line of Seth. It forces you to compare the two.
It's a structural foil. Two humanities, two civilizations, developing side by side with totally different goals.
And the contrast becomes sharpest when you look at the seventh descendant from Adam in each line. It's a perfect literary mirror.
In Cain's line, the seventh is Lamech, defined by polygamy and murderous boasting.
The absolute peak of the city of man's pride. But in Seth's line, the seventh from Adam is Enoch, a different Enoch, obviously. And how is he defined? He walked with God. He lived in fellowship with God so closely that God just took him.
One ends in a song of violence, the other ends in communion with God.
Let's go back to Cain's city for a moment. We see all this skill, all this culture. What's missing?
God.
Completely. There's no altar mention, no prayer, no sacrifice. It's a productive society, but it is morally disordered and totally indifferent to its creator. It's all skill with no submission.
And what's the defining feature of Seth's line?
The key phrase comes after Seth's son Enoch is born. It says, "At that time, people began to call upon the name of the Lord."
That's the start of something completely different.
It's the beginning of public corporate worship. Their defining activity isn't building monuments to themselves, but calling out to God together. They are the line of faith defined by their dependence on God.
So you have these two paths laid out right at the dawn of history. The way of Lamech, which uses human skill to magnify human rage.
And the way of Seth, which uses human breath to seek God's presence. And this shows us something critical. Cultural advancement doesn't fix sin. Skill doesn't equal godliness. Only grace can change the heart.
This contrast, especially Lamech's boast of 77-fold vengeance, becomes so important later on. That specific number doesn't just disappear from the story.
No, it becomes a target. Centuries later in the New Testament, you have the Apostle Peter trying to figure out the ethics of Jesus' new kingdom.
And he asks a very practical question. Lord, how often should I forgive my brother who sins against me? Up to 7 times.
And Peter probably thought 7 was very generous. It's the number of completeness. He might have even been thinking back to that 7-fold protection for Cain. He's looking for the limit.
He wants to know when he's done enough, when he can finally stop.
And Jesus' answer is just staggering. He says, "I do not say to you 7 times, but 77 times."
He takes the exact number.
He deliberately takes the exact number that Lamech attached to limitless vengeance and reattaches it to limitless forgiveness. It's a complete reversal.
Where Lamech multiplied revenge, Christ multiplies mercy.
That's it. Lamech's creed was, "Hurt me and I destroy you." Christ's command is, if your brother repents, you forgive him, again and again, without keeping score. He completely overturns Lamech's entire worldview and establishes the code for his new community.
And of course, Christ's own actions are the ultimate answer to Lamech's song. Lamech kills a man for a minor strike.
And Christ, the only truly innocent one, is struck, beaten, and crucified. He endures the ultimate injustice, and his response from the cross is, "Father, forgive them."
The cross answers Lamech's song by absorbing wrath. instead of inflicting it.
That's right. Because Christ settled the score with justice on the cross, his followers are freed from the need to pursue Lamech's path of personal vendetta. We're commanded to extend mercy because we've received it.
So, to bring this all home for you listening, we need to see the big picture this sets up. This contrast between Cain's city, Enoch, and the city God is building, the New Jerusalem.
Genesis 4 really gives us the blueprint for the conflict between the city of man and the city of God. Cain, a murderer, builds a city as a monument to human effort. That's the city of man.
While the New Jerusalem, the city to come, has God himself as its designer and builder, it's built by grace, not just human effort.
Cain's city relied on stone walls for security, a human attempt to find safety in a cursed world without repentance.
But God's city offers a better home, a heavenly one, where security comes from being right with him, not from bigger walls.
And finally, the name. Cain's city has a human name, Enoch, for human fame. But in the New Jerusalem, God writes his own name on his people. The glory is all his.
So the story of Cain's culture is a huge warning for us today. It shows that you can have amazing technology, beautiful art, and a spirit that celebrates cruelty and revenge all at the same time.
We can't ever confuse sophistication with godliness. And so the question this passage leaves you with is, where are you placing your confidence?
Is it in your own skills, your own projects, your own stone walls? Is that where you look for security and meaning?
Or are you, like Seth's line, defined by repentance and faith, by calling on the name of the Lord? Because Cain's city produces a Lamech, but Christ's city produces people defined by mercy.
And that really is the dividing line, isn't it? What our gifts are for. Cain's line had the gifts, but they used them for their own glory and to amplify their violence.
Well, Seth's line was defined by dedicating their lives to worship. And so the whole story is an invitation to flee from Cain's pattern of vengeance and self-exaltation and to find your citizenship in that new city, the city where our gifts are finally used for their true purpose, to worship the Creator.
And that leaves us with one last thing for you to think about. We said Jubal invented music, the lyre and the pipe, and the very first recorded use of that art, that poetry and song, was by Lamech to boast about his own murderous rage. Art was born and was immediately put in the service of pride and violence. So here's the question. What happens to our art, our technology, our whole culture when we stop calling on the name of the Lord? What is the purpose of a song or a skyscraper or smartphone in a world defined by the spirit of Lamech versus a world defined by the spirit of Christ? That's something to consider as you reflect on these two paths laid out for us right at the beginning